Just to finish Senator Blumenthal's point, I hope you realize how ridiculous the four of you look. Spouting these preposterous, canned answers in a forum in which A, you're supposed to tell the truth, and B, you're supposed to demonstrate the judicial capacity to make independent, factual decisions in hard cases. If you can't even sit here and say that Joe Biden won that election or that the Capitol was attacked, what's left? What's left if a hard case comes your way as a judge, and let's say the Trump administration is bearing down on that? Why would we ever believe?
These four people want lifetime appointments to decide federal law, and they could not, would not, confirm that Joe Biden won the 2020 election, a fact confirmed by every court in America, including courts full of Trump's own judges. 60-plus lawsuits. Not a single one found fraud sufficient to change an outcome. But in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, under oath, auditioning for jobs that require making difficult independent factual determinations, they passed. Couldn't quite get there. Senator Whitehouse pointed out that Lindsey Graham, a senior Republican and likely the next Judiciary chair, would have backed them if they'd answered honestly. They had political cover. They declined to use it because they didn't want to risk losing approval from an administration that lost those 60 court cases. This is who gets confirmed to the federal bench in 2020.
I'm really sorry to have to go through this and that you have to go through this, but it would be nice if you could tell your executive branch handlers, for instance, Ms. Clark, I'm supported by Lindsey Graham. He's a friend of President Trump. He's the second senior person on the Republican side in the Judiciary Committee. He's likely to be the next Judiciary Committee chair. I think I'll be okay. I don't need to make myself ridiculous at your direction. It'd be great if you could have said that. It'll be great.
25. He used the phrase executive branch handlers in a confirmation hearing to people who want to be federal judges. And nobody in the room disputed it, because what else do you call what's happening when nominees won't confirm documented electoral outcomes? Senator Blumenthal had already called their answers canned, pre-rehearsed, and, his word, Orwellian. This is the Republican Party's federal judicial pipeline in 2025. The nominees came in pre-scripted, gave scripted answers, and are going to leave confirmed to benches where they'll be making decisions that affect millions of people. Whitehouse's point lands because it's quietly devastating. If you can't give an honest answer when you have political cover, you are not capable of giving an honest ruling when the political...
Let me ask a different question, a legal question. A judge, you want to be judges. A judge gets a threat to the judge's life or to the judge's family. Can you imagine a scenario in which liability may attach to individuals beyond the utterer of that threat? Ms. Clark?
Senator, as a prosecutor, there are instances where there's some responsibility that is assigned to someone who is not the utterer of a threat to an individual. And so to answer your question, yes, I can imagine.
You agree?
Yes, Senator, and if confirmed to the bench, I would follow all Supreme Court precedent and Ninth Circuit precedent.
Mr. Rick, you agree?
Yes, Senator, I would agree with that.
I don't know that I care what you think, Ms. Westerkamp, because you're going to international trade and you're probably not going to see much of this, but do you agree?
Yes, Senator.
Yeah, and those doctrines that would provide the legal basis for investigation in those scenarios would include doctrines like, name one, Ms. Clark.
Senator, doctrines that are, if someone is essentially carrying out
solicitation, would that be
yes.
one? Solicitation of a
Yes.
threat?
Yes.
Or a conspiracy out of which the threat emerged? Would that be another one?
Yes.
Yes. How about, and it's the product of an enterprise under the racketeering statutes. Would that also be another way that liability could extend beyond the utterer?
That is correct, Senator.
Can you think of any others, Ms. Lane, where liability extends beyond the utterer of the threat? What are some of the legal theories that would support that kind of investigation and prosecution?
Senator, the doctrines you mentioned, I would agree with, and I would just look always to the federal law and federal statutes guiding that.
Mr. Recchi?
Senator, I would agree with that. I think you covered the major ones, conspiracy, RICO. There may be other avenues of potential legal liability, but I think you covered the three big ones in that scenario.
Pressure is real. Let's appreciate what just happened. White House used 4 Trump judicial nominees to publicly confirm, under oath, that federal law provides multiple mechanisms to investigate who organizes death threats against judges, not just who delivers them. Conspiracy, solicitation, RICO. They agreed, all of them. And then he revealed why that matters. The U.S. Marshals Service, which legally exists to protect these same judges, has been asked over 20 times whether it uses those doctrines when investigating threats. It won't answer. Not no, not yes. Won't answer. Meanwhile, threat levels against federal judges have doubled in 3 years. In fiscal year 2026, 129 sitting judges have already been threatened. The federal judiciary created its own security task force because the executive branch's protection apparatus has become politically suspect. Senate Democrats introduced legislation to put the marshals under the Supreme Court's authority instead of DOJ's, because the conflict of interest is that obvious. The nominees who just confirmed these doctrines are real and valid are about to join benches operating under the worst threat environment in memory, protected by an agency that won't do what those same nominees.
And why would that be the case? That would be the case because when you get behind the utterer of a lot of these threats, you run into right-wing conspiracies. And this MAGA Department of Justice would rather not go there. And so they leave judges exposed with investigations in which they aren't doing investigative 101 work that you've all identified as plausible legal theories.
Just said the law requires. So the scorecard from this hearing: 4 nominees who wouldn't confirm basic facts, a Marshals Service that won't confirm basic investigative procedure, a DOJ that attacks the same judges it's supposed to protect, and a political apparatus that held an impeachment hearing against a judge for, among other things, noting that the administration might defy court orders. He wasn't wrong, by the way. The administration defied the order. Here's what makes White House's frustration legible beyond the politics. This isn't difficult. Investigate threats against judges. Follow the trail where it leads. Confirm that you will. That's it. That's the ask. 20 times, no answer. The nominees confirm the legal framework exists. The law confirms the mandate exists. The marshals won't confirm they'll do their job. And when you ask why, you get silence, because the answer, as White House said, runs into right-wing networks that this DOJ won't touch. If that doesn't strike you as a problem, you haven't thought through what happens to your next court case when the judges are afraid and the people protecting them answer to the people threatening them. Subscribe, comment. Tell us what you think should happen to a law enforcement agency that won't answer this question 20 times. Because apparently, someone needs to make this loud.